Hi everyone, I'm David Hoicka here. Welcome to the first video in what will be an engaging and thought-provoking series of videos. As a principal mediator in neutral Singapore, who spent many years working to resolve conflict situations, I've learned that even the most intractable disagreements can be transformed with the right approach, the right tools, and above all, the right mindset. That's the spirit behind my recent book, Singapore as Model for Ukraine-Russia Peace: Proactive Leadership, Mediation, and Hard Work. Now, I know this title might raise some eyebrows at first glance. Singapore and Ukraine-Russia, what could they possibly have in common? Well, as it turns out, quite a lot. Not in terms of the specific history or politics, of course, but in terms of the underlying principles and strategies that have allowed a small nation like Singapore to build peace and prosperity with its neighbors despite a legacy of conflict. Principles and strategies that, I believe, hold powerful lessons for Ukraine and Russia as they seek a way forward. In the first chapter, we look at one of these key strategies, building trust through economic interdependence. The core idea is simply this: when nations' economies are deeply intertwined, when businesses and communities on both sides are invested in each other's success, the cost of conflict gets higher and the benefits of cooperation get clearer. Economic ties, carefully nurtured, can become the muscles and the strength of peace. Singapore's story is a vivid illustration of this principle in action. For decades after independence, Singapore worked tirelessly to create win-win economic partnerships with Malaysia and Indonesia, even as political tensions simmered. They collaborated on industrial parks and infrastructure projects. They reduced trade barriers and boosted cross-border investments. They created joint councils and dialogues to keep the lines of communication open. Was it a smooth process? Hardly. There were plenty of setbacks, disputes, and growing pains along the way. But Singapore's leaders kept their eyes on the long game. They understood that every joint venture, every mediated negotiation was a brick in the foundation of a more stable, prosperous region. And brick by brick, year by year, these economic bridges have made all the difference. So what might this mean for Ukraine and Russia? Two great nations with their own complex history and seemingly intractable conflict. Well, the details will differ, but I believe the core insights from Singapore's experience could provide a roadmap and a solid source of inspiration. Imagine if Ukrainian and Russian leaders came together not to rehash past grievances, but to map out a vision of mutually beneficial economic integration. Imagine joint task forces identifying complementary strengths and comparative advantages, sectors where collaboration could create jobs and value for both sides. Imagine the announcement of a bilateral investment treaty or a fund for co-financed infrastructure projects to upgrade roads, rails, and ports, linking the two economies. Picture Ukrainian and Russian businesses becoming incentivized to form partnerships and joint ventures. Envision border regions becoming hubs of cross-border commerce and interaction with special economic zones fostering shared prosperity. Imagine scholarships and exchange programs to develop the next generation of leaders with the skills and relationships to sustain cooperation. And importantly, every step of the way, imagine trained mediators and structured dialogues to work through the inevitable frictions and differences. mechanisms to defuse tensions and find creative compromises, a commitment to keep everyone at the table, even when, and in fact, especially when, the conversation gets tough. Is this vision far-fetched? Perhaps. Is it easy? Certainly not. But is it impossible? I don't think so. In fact, I suggest it's the only way forward. Because at the end of the day, a lasting peace isn't made just by politicians signing treaties. It's stitched together through countless acts of cooperation and bridge building across economic, social, and cultural lines. It's forged through the hard work of seeing shared interests, growing the pie, and resolving disputes creatively. That's what Singapore and its neighbors have done in their own imperfect but inspiring way. So my humble suggestion to all with a stake in the future of the great nations Ukraine and Russia is this: consider envisioning what a peace economy could look like, an economic system that transmutes sources of strife into engines of shared progress and prosperity. Dare to imagine a future where Ukrainian and Russian fortunes are as interlinked as their histories, where young people can study, work, and build a life on either side of a border that's more of a meeting place than a dividing line. And then brick by brick, bridge by bridge, start building this future now. Is this naive? Some might think so. But as a mediator, I've seen the transformative power of reframing the viewpoints from zero-sum to positive-sum, from scarcity to abundance, from reaction to creation. It's not about dismissing real differences and wounds. It's about widening to see the bigger picture of our shared hopes and humanity. That's the invitation at the heart of my book and this series of videos, an invitation to a challenging but crucial conversation about how economic interdependence, thoughtfully created and mediated, can pave a path to peace. An invitation to learn from Singapore's story, not as a perfect blueprint, but as proof of what's possible when we focus on the long game of cooperation. So if anything I've said resonates with you, I encourage you to grab a copy of my book, follow along with these videos, and most importantly, keep an open and creative mind to build progress for saving lives, bringing lasting peace and prosperity for both great nations, Ukraine and Russia. Share your own ideas and reactions in the comments below. Let's learn from each other, because building peace is a collaborative venture. It takes all of us. In the next video, we'll be looking at Chapter 3 and the role of healing historical traumas and bringing reconciliation. Terrible things have been happening to Ukraine and Russia for centuries, and true peace requires facing up to and resolving these intergenerational traumas. I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation. Until then, take good care, and remember, every interaction is a chance to build a bridge. Thanks for watching.